Strange things are happening. Vehicles are malfunctioning. A dead body with his throat crushed from the inside. And it all seems to be revolving around one woman. Is she a crafty murderer using telekinesis, or is something else at play?
This is not happening.
Hello and welcome to This Is Not Happening, another X-Files podcast.
Agent Scully, Agent Mulder, Chief Blevins assures us of your cooperation. We regret any inconvenience of this extreme hour.
We hope that your expertise in extraordinary phenomenon will help us answer some questions.
You're not FBI, are you?
Have you ever analyzed anything like this before? Abnormal post-mortem muscle reflex. Both corpses are still responding to exposure to high levels of electrostatic charge.
Any signs of external lesions or surface burns?
None.
Time of death.
Well, it can't be long. The body's still warm.
Somatic death occurred sometime over 6 hours ago, but their body temperatures have yet to drop below 98.3 degrees.
Where'd you find them? Look, at least tell us the time and mode of transport. That might help us determine why the bodies haven't cooled. Hey, you guys called us down here. You want some answers, you gotta give some.
Tonight we are talking about Shadows, episode 6 in season 1, written by Glenn Morgan and James Wong. This one directed by Michael Cattleman. And this will be the only episode that Michael directs for the X-Files. He's another veteran of Quantum Leap. And similar to Joe Napolitano, he also directed for a show called Northern Exposure.
Northern Exposure.
Yeah. Welcome back, everybody. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good.
Excellent. We all excited to talk about the show that is clearly etched in your memories, Shadows.
Oh, yeah.
I read in the production notes for this one that it is the show that was pushed by Fox onto Morgan and Wong to create a more relatable story. Mm-hmm. And that ultimately the two regret having given in to those demands. They're not entirely happy with it. And it's also David Duchovny's least favorite of the season.
I would agree with all of those. It is weaker. I was surprised to find out that Morgan and Wong had penned it, honestly. They're usually just so good at their job that this one being like, wow. It's not terrible, but it's just not great. It's right in that we're getting into the territory where the X-Files is kind of faltering just a little bit. Still watchable, still fun, but it just doesn't scream Morgan and Wong, and it doesn't have that spark of creativity that they are known for and are very good at. So, yeah, it's an okay episode. I think the plot works out pretty well. It's serviceable enough, but it's, as a whole, I think the episode just doesn't hit for me.
I'm the same. Again, I think we said before that there are a lot of great X-Files episodes, and there are a lot of okay X-Files episodes, and I think people don't like the okay ones because they have a pretty high standard to be compared to, ultimately. And I look at this in context with 1993, the episodes we've seen so far, right? And they have this strong start with the pilot and Deep Throat, Squeeze, and Conduit, ultimately. You know, they're all good episodes. I think maybe some of it might be that we had this interesting arc being set up with the pilot and Deep Throat, where we had the initial mythology arc being set, and we're going a couple episodes away from it. You know, we won't get back to that for a couple of more even. Of course, we don't know that in 93 when we're first watching this. We're like, oh, okay, we had that neat alien story, but now we've got these serial kind of one-off episodes every time. I guess that's what this show is going to be. I think Chris Carter, in his head, knew there would be the mythology arc, but, you know, we didn't know that. We weren't going to know that for 10 episodes yet. So on its own, I think it's just a case of we've had some good ones, and now we're getting a few misses as they're finding their footing.
Yeah, it's not quite up to that standard that has been set in the first few episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. So shall we dive in, as we say?
Let's dive.
Diving into the shadows. So our open has our protagonist, Lauren, sadly packing up the office of her dead boss, Howard Graves. And there are a lot of tracking shots over the office. showing Howard was a successful man. Pictures of him and both presidents, Reagan and Clinton, nicely photoshopped in there, or whatever the equivalent was in 1993. And the focus on the desk plaque by Benjamin Franklin, 1 today is worth 2 tomorrows. That's going to come up a lot in this episode.
Yeah.
We get a little exposition drop from her coworker that it's been 2 weeks since Howard's death, and it's payday. Here's your check.
Yeah, we get that exposition from Crazy Teeth Lady and Lauren. She drops that the man has died. It's been 2 weeks, and then Lauren drops well, he killed himself. So I've never known anyone who's killed themselves. So okay, those are 2 important pieces of information.
Yep, setting our stage, getting our ducks in a row there. I like the implied anti-sympathy from Crazy Teeth Lady, where she's basically implying it's been 2 weeks. Why is still so sad?
Yeah, why
girl?
are you
Move
still
on.
sad that a man has died?
But we will find out later that he wasn't just any employer. He was my surrogate father.
Yeah.
So, a big deal. And so we now cut to Lauren depositing her paycheck at the world's earliest ATM. I'm surprised it doesn't have like protruding buttons as opposed to, those inset ones. But she's attacked by 2 men. And they're later going to turn up dead when 2 young punks try and break into an upper floor apartment and dislodge the corpses.
Yeah. What did you think about these 2 kids? Like, they don't look homeless. I mean, who knows? They could very well be.
Mike, who knows why punks do what they do?
Let's go find a place to sleep. Let's go up a fire escape into someone's apartment. I mean, that's fine, but it's just interesting. I didn't peg these 2 as not having a place to go, but I'm obviously very mistaken.
My issue with it is it's a tenuous link for the plot. Like, they wanted a way to dramatically display these bodies, and they thought, hey, fire escape. So how do we get them to tumble out of a fire escape?
That one takes a nosedive onto a dumpster. That is pretty violent.
Some good stunt work there.
Yeah, and then the other one falls while hanging on the ladder still, upside down.
Artfully displayed, one would say.
Yep.
We cut to our credits, and that's all we're going to know about for a little while, but keep those images in your head because they'll come back later.
Yeah, it's a good setup.
we come back to a shadowy institution. I forgot the setup for this. This
is Bethesda Navy Hospital.
Right. It's the secret government institution. And
Mulder and Scully have been summoned by 2 other agents. They don't give us a whole lot of information. They are very standoffish. And Mulder and Scully find that out very quickly.
These are the 2 of the worst actors that have ever entered the craft.
Well, it's funny you should mention that.
Do they not return?
The male agent Webster, played by Daryl Hayes, also plays an agent, the guy who tails Scully in Little Green Men. And the army doctor at the beginning of The Walk, when he's talking to the guy who tries to burn himself to death in that boiling water.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know what to say about that other than, listen, I think about characters that, when given no lines, act the heck off the scenery. The classic example being Cigarette Smoking Man. So good, they brought him out again and again and again. This is a case where when Mulder and Scully say, well, what can you tell us about it? And they are stonewalling them and just tight-lipped and not doing anything. I literally think it's a screen test or something. They just have no reaction.
They're just cardboard cutout people.
I really want to give them credit and think that the director, Michael Cattleman, was saying, okay, guys, when we cut back to you on this scene, I want you to be completely emotionless. I want you to give them nothing. And they're thinking, well, this is the easiest paycheck I ever made, so sure. But boring. It's just like, these aren't threatening.
They're very two-dimensional, and they're not even good
They're going to be like that through the whole episode, which is the worst part. But anywho, so they've been called in to consult on these 2 deaths. They are not giving anything away. It's clear this is the source of the X-File because the corpses are still warm and occasionally convulse, which is a little gross and distracting. But Pretty cool.
Yeah, they have abnormal postmortem muscle reflex, and both corpses have high levels of electrostatic charge.
Yeah, that's a standard test that coroners run, is checking for electricity. But I think the most interesting part of this coroner's examination is that they've been killed by having their throats crushed from the inside. All the agents want to know is if Mulder and Scully have seen this before, which I think this is a bit cagey. Like, they could have just broken into Mulder's office and gone through his files.
Like every other episode? Yeah.
Like every other episode, but instead they give him a flight down to Bethesda. And yeah, it's clunky setup.
They wanted to introduce these cool new agents.
They're going to have their own spin-off series in a couple episodes.
The cardboards.
Wait, how did you even know their name was Webster? I mean, you must have looked up the credits.
That one, yeah, I did look up because I'm like, I know I've seen this guy in a couple episodes. I just want to see if he has a name here.
They never introduce themselves. They don't flash ID. They don't get referenced.
Yeah, I don't think they give any indication of what their names are.
Toss away characters anyway.
The one key piece of information they're willing to give up after Mulder gets a little curt with them, they traveled 60 minutes by air.
Yes.
So that gives Mulder and Scully a way to kind of determine, okay, where could they have come from?
Well, I will give the writers, which of course we love these writers, credit for the gotcha at the end when Mulder produces his glasses with the fingerprints of the dead.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
very cool.
That's very smart. Like, that's something you think about, oh, what if my characters did this, and I'll incorporate it into a plot one day. And they're like, this is where they're going to use it.
Yeah.
It's smart. I like that it shows Mulder as being really creative in the situation.
Yeah.
They are in an elevator, and you don't see that without getting up close. We also know that Mulder doesn't really respect Scully's personal boundaries. He's the kind of guy that leans in and takes a necklace just because he can.
Can I just point and play with this?
I'm a fidgeter is what I am. I like to fidget. That's just a weird thing, but I think maybe there's also like a camera problem. Mm-hmm. Like, in order to get them both in the frame and the close up on the glasses, he's got to get in there. That happens a lot,
right? You gotta kind of wave it away sometimes, even if it is just like, whoa.
Okay, but yes, that is the scope now, as we're going to see they are into the case. Mulder has not given away that, yes, in fact, he has seen this before. And now that he's got something to go on for this next X-File, I think he says that he's seen evidence of psychokinesis and electrostatic stuff on bodies. He's seen them individually, but he's never seen it all together in one case. And of course, this piques his interest.
And this, along with the fingerprint that we were just talking about, to give credit to the writers, of course, Morgan and Wong, we get to see that creativity that we were just talking about, and the fact that he can be sly. And when Scully comes out of that morgue, essentially, she's like, oh, well, we got nothing to go on, and these guys basically wasted our time. He's like, no, I still have a trick up my sleeve. And it's cool to think that whole time he like pegged these agents as not going to be helpful at all, and he's going to take some steps to make sure he can get some information.
So, they are going to go and do that. But we cut back to Lauren at work, and she's fine. She had that attack, and nothing happened towards her. So I guess we're not going to think about that. But
she's unusually upbeat right now. Not upbeat. She's looking like nothing's happened. Everything's okay.
Just play it cool. Well, her
play it
flustering over the newspaper is an interesting point. I think that she's checking to see if there's a news story of these two dead guys, but there's not.
There's not.
Which is an interesting point, because I guess if we draw the connections, then there's CIA, Webster, and unnamed other agent. Is that what we learn ultimately, that they are working for the CIA? Or is it never established?
Yeah. I think it's something like that. I can't remember.
Nobody really wants to know.
I think it's at the bottom of my notes, but
well, anyway, so they scooped up the bodies. I guess is oh no, because the police came.
NSA.
Is it okay? So ultimately, Mulder and Scully are going to go back. They're going to talk to the beat cop, which is going to tell them about where they found the bodies. But they then go from there to Bethesda, the bodies. So I guess there is no news coverage of it because it's never logged if it's taken to secret naval base land. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to make sense of the plot because, they haven't given us a lot to go on yet. Anyway, she is not busted up over the fates of her attackers as she's able to return to work, but she's going to quit. That's ultimately the only reason she came back. She's asked to see him. The secretary says, no, can't do it today. Tomorrow at 3 maybe. And she's agitated about getting an appointment today, damn it. The secretary gets a little coffee bath because the cup is mysteriously overturned by an unseen force. Oh, we totally didn't mention that little plaque did the side jiggle at the very opening. That was our first little introduction to the idea there's a mysterious force at work. I'm sorry, listeners, there's a mysterious force at work in this episode. I don't know if it hasn't become clear yet, but...
True.
And yes, the mysterious force is able to move desk plaques and overturn cups of coffee whenever Lauren seems to need it.
Yeah, it's definitely when she's showing signs of stress or even little signs of stress or discomfort, it begins to happen.
And again, to the credit of the writers, I like that they're sort of positioning it as this is Lauren having the ability to do these things, that she is the source of the power. Obviously, the gotcha in this episode will be that it is the dead Howard Graves who is doing this, but
right
for now, we are led to believe that she is the psychokinetic. She's Carrie reborn. And all this to say, she gets her appointment with Mr. Dorland.
Yeah.
What do we think
this
of
guy?
What?
He is okay. The first couple sentences, maybe he starts seeming like a friend. For me, as soon as he started launching into the kind of we're a family thing, I was like, this guy is a creep. And then leans into her and grabs her chin and like the side of her face gently, but still. You don't do that to
Maybe
someone.
in Chris Carter's family, they did it. Yeah.
And he's like, I won't let you leave, Lauren.
Yeah.
I won't let you leave. It's like, what the fuck? 180 switch, like he went from kind of friendly, Graves was such a good man and he saw you as a daughter. And then he just goes into this, I won't let you leave.
Confusing choice.
It was really
again,
weird.
I think this is direction. I think he's a more capable actor because he has some better scenes later, but yeah, it's a weird. I would have liked a little bit more lead up to the creepy, and it doesn't give a lot to why he won't let her leave either. It's just that he's personally creepy, like he just likes having her around, or does she have some incriminating information? She does. I get that they don't want to give it away yet.
Oh, absolutely.
It's too much too fast, and I don't think that's a writer's thing. I think that's an acting thing, which is governed by a directing thing.
Right.
So I'm putting this one on to Mr. Katelman.
Yeah, and as soon as he gets that way, his watch tightens around his wrist. He struggles to get it off. He's shaking a little bit, and then he suddenly says, "You've got 2 weeks." Like it was her doing it. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Change of heart there.
Yeah. Well, she runs away.
Oh.
So back to our intrepid investigators. Mulder determines the identity of one of the bodies, and these guys are terrorists, everybody's favorite enemy in the 90s.
Convictions: illegal possession of firearms, illegal possession of explosives, falsification of export licenses.
He has ties to an exiled extremist group operating in the U.S., the Isfahan. They take their name from the city in Iran. Recently, they've been working out of Philadelphia.
That's 60 air minutes.
No witnesses, but Mulder finds the ATM.
Yep.
Oh, right. I jumped right ahead. We're in Philadelphia now. Because I don't think anything else comes up in that meeting that they're having.
No, it goes pretty quickly to the ATM.
Yeah. So Scully's interviewing the cop who says there are no witnesses. I was just doing my rounds. These guys showed up. Mulder finds the ATM and deduces that it might have the information. I guess maybe ATMs are new in 93. I don't remember when I first encountered my first ATM.
Definitely young at this point.
So interesting plot point to make the ATM footage relevant. I don't know whether this is a first in TV series tropes. It's certainly going to come up again in TV land all the time. But I like that they use it as a way to show that Lauren's being abducted, and not only that, but the ghostly image in the frame.
Yeah, there's something going on in the frame that's a little wispy. Can't really get a clear view of what it is. Is it a figure or someone walking by or something? But Mulder's got his Mulder sense going.
I'm really surprised that they didn't go down the route of inserting the image into a computer and running a program to reverse engineer the wispy, wavy thing and go, oh my God.
That's a person.
That's Howard Graves. And he's smiling,
On that note, I'd just like to point out that the camera for this ATM is better than every security camera footage I've ever seen on a documentary where someone was murdered and they can't find the guy.
Yeah, it's pretty tight.
It's like his face was just a square.
Well, it is 1993 and technology was better then.
Apparently.
Yeah. It's gotten worse as time's gone on, cut corners.
Yeah.
Nobody buys American anymore. It's all from China. So,
so they head to Lauren's house.
Yeah.
Once they get her name and they get that wispy footage. So they're headed there to talk to her.
She's at home.
And she is moving.
She's
packing up.
She's done. Question to all the lawyers in the room. Mulder entering the home when she says, I'm busy, I don't think so. And
oh, it's okay. We won't be long. Even for him, it's a little brash.
Yeah. I had a little red flag go up there and go, does that mean that anything you get here is illegal? Or what is this?
Yeah. I mean, just because the owner is in the house and they know you're there doesn't mean it's admissible. But
yeah. So yes, they enter and begin some spurious questioning. And I do like that Scully is the one to sort of pull it all down and say, well, we know you were there and let's talk about these guys. And we know you know these guys.
I like when she does that. Take your time.
Yeah.
It's really kind of sly. Yeah. She's like, we know the answer and you're lying. So, take another look.
Take your time. We'll get to the truth. Just, once you get all the BS out of the way, take your time. So she does spin a story. She was attacked, got away. She didn't want to file a report. She notes she sees the image in the frame. Her attention's drawn to it, and she realizes something, but she doesn't say it. It's a nice character note, especially that Mulder recognizes it too, and essentially is that old chestnut of you can't say something or you won't say something. He doesn't say it like that, but that's what he means.
Right.
So yeah, they get nothing.
Yeah, she's not forthcoming, and Mulder immediately kind of plays to her fear. He's the believer, so whatever she has to say, if you ever want to say it, call me. He hands her his card, whether it's for the FBI or his phone number. That's up for debate. No.
Oh, it's his phone number because she ends up calling it.
I meant personal.
Oh, I see what you did there.
You can find my apartment here.
Anytime, day or night. So, they're getting into the car to leave, and they are definitely skeptical. They are offering up their skepticalness to each other. And meanwhile, Lauren is watching. And as Mulder starts the car, it gets a mind of its own, launches into reverse, speeds down the road where it promptly collides with another car. Well, pointedly, I think Mulder sees that Lauren has seen, so he, is making this connection that he is, she is watching. Is she possibly responsible somehow? I
can't tell if that scene is just for us or if he is supposed to see her all the way down the street.
God, you're right. She's probably 100 feet away. How on earth?
Yeah. Because the way they shoot that, it's like he sees her seeing them. And I'm like, ugh. It's at least
and that car can move it when it's going in reverse. Probably faster than when it goes forward. I'm impressed. All right, so I got some thoughts on this particular moment because I think it's pretty clunky. The first would be why? Why is Howard Graves' ghost deciding he needs to take these two out?
It's a loose plot thread because we go on to understand that he's protecting her, right? Which implies he's able to understand who's good and who's bad.
Well, you don't get your picture taken with the president if you're not a smart cookie.
Right. So the jump to trying to essentially murder Mulder and Scully for asking a few questions, given that they're law enforcement, you'd think that he wouldn't do such a thing. So I totally understand.
I think he would have achieved his objective, which is to get the focus off of Lauren if he did nothing at all, if he just let them drive away, as opposed to let us highlight the fact that something really kooky is going on by putting you into a mysterious road accident with no potential explanation.
Yep. And Mulder points it out immediately, in the next couple scenes, she was present at each scene.
To answer my own question, I would say
Our cargo
maybe
inhaler.
it's a case that he doesn't have that presence of mind. Maybe Howard Graves is in a place of passion and he can just respond only with emotional outbursts or whatever. He can only react that way. But
Could be. You know what would help? Plot.
that plot would help, yeah. And as another interesting aside, did you know that if you compare the force of an engine providing acceleration and brakes providing deceleration, brakes always win? There's a sad story about why this is known, but essentially if you're driving down the highway and you put your feet on both the accelerator and the brakes, you will slow right down as if the accelerator is not even on. Yep. You have to have a pretty fancy car with lots of horsepower to override the brakes, but so the only thing there is maybe the ghost knows that too and is stopping the brakes from working. That'd be my guess.
He cut the brakes.
He did. Except that later out, this is our next scene. The car has been checked out. Perfect working order. Brand new.
Only 100 miles, perfect condition, but the lights are still shining, as Mulder will point out.
I do like that, though.
It's cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
They're definitely off, he says, but the filaments have been charged. Or they're getting some sort of electrical current.
Yeah, and it's a nice touch when they are having their back and forth. She does her usual thing where she's talking logically and he's talking fantastically, and the car's lights go out to sort of punch the point that this is not, your logical explanation is missing one thing. The car is weird, that is the one thing that's missing here. But I do like the back and forth. Mulder begins in launching his superpower. He's assuming that Lauren is the source of the psychokinesis. So this is the first case where he launches it and he's going the wrong way. But he then does course correct and suggests, well, the only other possible theory is that there's a poltergeist.
Yeah, they're here.
I think that's a nice way of putting it to sort of say, we're all aware what we're doing here. This is a ghost episode. So, because, this is a case where the audience has insight into the villain or the antagonist. Or in this case, we don't know that they're actually the protagonist. But
so to counter Mulder's paranormal explanation, Scully just lays it out. It's an extremist group. They're involved somewhere. They sabotaged our car in our absence while we were questioning her. And Lauren works for a weapons manufacturer. Yeah. So they've already tried to kill her.
You don't really need to go into
So I think it's pretty obvious, Mulder.
Although I didn't realize they made weapons until this point. Like the way Dorland, he sort of has that whole, we're a family, we care for each other here. I thought they were maybe, they made oatmeal or something at HTG. I didn't really think that this is a weapons firm. Okay, I get you can have. We make weapons together.
We're all a
as
family.
And those weapons kill people. But yes, I like the interplay, obviously, between Mulder and Scully at this point. That hers is the obvious explanation, and that's when the car's lights go out.
Yeah, we get a short scene here, a cut to HTG. Where Lauren works, and she's arriving for the day. And Mulder and Scully are kind of staking her out, taking pictures, and they see her get unreasonably upset that, like, a groundskeeper is removing Howard Graves' nameplate parking space. She is not happy about it one bit. And that is our first real indication that Howard and Lauren have a deeper relationship, I should say.
That's a marvelous Easter egg. Tom Braidwood, for those who don't know, and I don't know who that would be if you're listening to this show, but that is one of the lone gunmen, the guy who plays Frohickey. He's also at this point, though, because they haven't made an appearance yet, he is one of the producers of the show.
Yeah. Came from behind the camera to in front of the camera.
Yeah. So a nice little aside there, but maybe that's what she's actually upset about, is that Tom Braidwood is getting a parking spot, not that Howard Graves is losing his parking spot.
To make note of this microfiche section where they find the picture of Howard Graves, and I want everyone to take note of that picture. just save it for later.
Locking it away in my memory bank. So they do continue to investigate her and tail her to the cemetery, where Lauren tearfully leaves a bouquet of flowers at Howard Graves' grave. That was weird to say. Howard had a daughter who drowned in the family pool at age 3, and that Howard's wife left him a year later and died. So I don't know whether that means she left him and then subsequently died, or by leaving him, the implication was she died. But anyway, Howard's had a bad run of it, basically, and all of his relatives are buried there. Now he is.
All the females in his life are just biting it.
So Mulder's figured out that Lauren would be the same age as Howard's daughter if she had lived past age 3.
Yeah. And they go to get some information from Graveyard Dude. What are they called?
The grave digger.
I didn't want to say grave digger because I wasn't sure. And this guy has an abnormal amount of information about everyone buried here. It was a little interesting. Like, that's your source for this kind of information. Like, I don't know. It was just strange.
I liked him. I mean,
I don't dislike him.
He's the only interesting side note character we've seen so far, other than Crazy Teeth Lady.
True.
Like,
very true.
I think that his note from Caitlin was, be a little bit creepy. And he was like, you got it, boss. And, ran with it.
Nailed it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, see, they're buried over here. Yeah, she wanted nothing to do. She didn't want to be over here, so she's over there.
She only got the silver plot deal. She didn't get platinum where it could be buried together. She was real cheap, that one.
She was real cheap. Only had a few pennies rubbed together.
Yeah. Burrowed her in our Arcano line.
Just a bunch of cardboard boxes that used to hold home refrigerators. This is our corrugated line.
If you move up, you get an aluminum model.
Oh, man.
We get a montage of Mulder developing pictures in an old school darkroom.
Oh, yeah.
Like it. I mean, that's where you do real photography, ladies and gentlemen.
It is, I think, probably the only time we see him do this kind of thing. Like developing film. I don't recall another episode like that.
Well, they do that a lot in season 1. They try things on for size, like a cheap suit, and just see whether it works and whether they want to go back to it. Like, he hasn't jogged for a couple episodes, but that might come up again.
Yeah. He zeroes in on a picture of Lauren in her living room, I guess, through the living room window. And remember that picture I told you to keep an eye on? Well, they bring it to the FBI dude, and he does the cool 1993 computers can make something out of nothing computer.
Enlarge and enhance.
Yeah, enhance. Well, they enhance that photo behind Lauren. Like, you guys couldn't take a picture of this guy that was different than that, so it didn't look like they took the newspaper article picture and pasted it onto this. I was like, wow, that is terrible. The proportions are way off.
There's no way he's actually standing there.
Yeah, he's there, arms folded, looking at the camera.
It's... Okay.
I was like, really?
It's funny you mentioned that, because if I look at it through your eyes, I totally agree with you. It is real sloppy. They could have done a much better job. They could have figured out another way to get their point across. The point they wanted to make was that, maybe Howard Graves is not dead after all, right? That's their next line of inquiry. But what I actually kind of dig about it is when you're talking about ghosts. I mean, not a parapsychologist, but I gotta think that they don't follow the same rules of reality. So if their spirit, for lack of a better term, embodies itself on celluloid, then it maybe is an idealized form of what they look like. And it's a nice picture of him. So maybe that's just what came through the moment. I guess I'm trying to forgive this little real bad plot point.
That's totally fine. I'll take that. It's interesting. I'm not going to poo-poo it.
Even I would poo-poo it, but...
The extraordinariness of this scene altogether.
Yeah.
First of all, there was nothing behind her, and the guy enhanced it to like a photo that you can see. It's like, whoa.
I hate that trope of enlarge and enhance, and it happens so much. We don't get out of that until like 2000s CSI, where they roll their eyes at each other and say, you can't just enlarge and enhance a picture. It doesn't work like that. But
yeah, they roll their eyes at that, but CSI solves crimes when they're not in the lab, apparently.
Well, I didn't really want to go down that road. But my point is just that they do use that a lot, and I have a hard time forgiving that particular failing, whereas I'm somehow okay with the the use of the picture itself. I think what we're getting to is we all hate that little exchange for one reason or another.
That's where the episode really starts to fall apart.
It does lean on. Okay, that's a little unfair because it does lead into one of my favorite scenes. But we'll get to that.
Further investigation into Lauren Kite's personal history reveals an estrangement from her family. Phone records confirm no contact with her parents for the last 2 years. Her actions, observed during surveillance, indicate a strong relationship between Lauren Kite and her employer, the late Howard Graves. Was this relationship somehow the motivation for his suicide? How are the attack and the subsequent murders of the Isfahan agents related, if at all? I am certain the answers to these questions lie in finding the identity of Lauren Kite's accomplice.
The plot's all over the place. And then we have the moment where we're seeing the picture and enlarging and enhancing it, and they're thinking that he's maybe alive, even though it's a weird composition, and they're better investigators than that. It does move into what I think is arguably one of the cooler scenes, which is Lauren at night sleeping. She hears sounds, steps
Yeah, it
outside.
sounds like squeaky floorboards that get her out of bed.
She goes out to investigate with a very poorly handled bat, because we all know girls can't play ball.
Oh, man.
I wrote that down to be
Where's the
challenging.
cancel
Come on.
stamp? She went to secretary school and is the world's best secretary.
Maybe she really knows how to use the bat like at short range, because she's like holding it in this weirdo grip.
So she's a bunter.
Oh, yeah. Specialized with slap bunting. So she hears voices. She hears Howard in the bathroom. Seems what sounds to be running water. She hears him pleading.
Yeah, you can't do this to me, or don't do this to me, something like that.
Yeah.
We are led to believe it is Howard.
And it takes a long time to get to the big reveal. Like, we've got a really cool shot of her walking through the hallway with the blinds casting a shadow. That's a nice one. And then going into the bathroom. Is that where the mystery is? No, it's dark, and she turns on the light to the bathtub, which has got a shower curtain on it. Okay, well, now I got to open this up. Like, they're really drawing this out. But the reveal is kind of worth it, because it's the tub.
It's cool.
Tub filled with water and blood emanating from nowhere in the middle, splaying out.
You can see the jets.
But you have to look at it multiple times. And in 93, there is no rewind. There is no on demand. If you enlarge and enhance, you can totally see them, yeah.
No, you can see it plainly. Blood spraying into the water.
Oh, well, for sure. But I interpreted that to be the slit wrists. That's what I saw there. I thought it was, they've had a harder time with other effects. Blood coming out of nose, for example. But in this case, it was simple and effective, and I thought it was quite compelling. But all this to get to the point, she has established that they killed Howard. He did not commit suicide.
She sees all this creepy stuff, backs up against the wall, and starts making weird sex noises.
Howard.
That is the weirdest fear noise I've ever heard come out of a person.
It's weird. And I guess they needed it. It's one of these things you write an episode around, right? You have an image in your mind of how are we going to show this cool thing I want to show. And I think it was compelling. Her reaction to it, not appropriate, but
and jokes aside, it is a cool scene.
Yeah.
I do like it.
So we cut to Scully and Mulder going to learn about Howard Graves' death, where Scully's now positing Howard's pulled off this heist in league with Lauren. She's a bit taken aback when Mulder says, "You may be right."
Yeah, but then he pulls the rug out from under his.
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, now you just got to prove that this guy faked his death."
Yeah, it's one of my favorite exchanges, actually, because it's then followed on by Ellen Bledsoe, the I guess county coroner or something, saying Howard Graves is very dead.
It's Lorena Gale, and she is in a couple other episodes, including One Breath. She plays a nurse.
She's got like 137 credits on IMDb. She's been all over.
Oh
the
yeah,
place.
she's very good.
Unfortunately,
she does a lot of work.
Unfortunately, died in 2009, which is a shame because she's really compelling and also crazy. She was only 4'11".
Really?
Well,
Wow.
if we can trust IMDb, I don't know. But it is marvelous because she is so deadpan. Now, and here is the interesting thing. her deadpan is so good compared to our nameless NSA, CIA agents, whatever. And I don't know why hers works so well and theirs doesn't.
Well, I would say half of that, not to say it's bad at all because it's really good, but half of it is the scene. Like, it just cuts to her saying Howard Graves is very dead or whatever.
Good point.
It's pretty good. And, like, I think it was played for a comedic beat on some level.
Yeah, absolutely. And her disinterest in it somehow, like when Scully says, "How did you ID the body?" and she says, "Well, it was him. That's what it said on the toe tag."
Yep.
It's so, like, I really don't give a damn.
Yeah.
It's so well done.
It's like, okay, so this lady didn't do a good job at all. I mean, if that's what she's going by, then...
Yep. Listen, I did exactly what was required of me to do. But they do get some more detail, which sort of lends some suspicion to Lauren. She's the one to ID the body. And he ends up being cremated, so they can't do any DNA or dental comparison. But aha, says Scully, his organs were donated, so maybe they still can.
Yep. This is how they're going to determine if he's alive or not. And it is the breath of life for Scully's theory or the kiss of death. And she so very much wants to be right. She's like, I just want him to be alive.
Why does it always have to be weird?
Why does it have to be ghosts? This is so stupid.
I want to go on a date.
Where's Rob?
Maybe I should be a mommy. Meanwhile, Lauren is having a going away party, which is it is the best going away party in all the 1980s and 90s.
It
combined.
is.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know how to describe the unrealisticness of this party. I've been in plenty of office settings. I've worked in office settings, and not once have I seen a loved coworker get anything like this.
I gotta ask, do you work in the weapons industry?
You know, that might be the answer when you are selling weapon parts for extreme prices to extremist groups.
You just care more.
You can probably get a little bit more.
The point we're making is that it's a hell of a shindig.
Yeah, one hell of a shindig. And Lauren is packing up. She's getting ready to go. She visits Howard Graves' office one last time. But Dorland steps in behind her and closes the door.
If ever there was one. I mean, do we need to know that this guy's bad news anymore?
He does his job. He is just a creep.
So he confronts her. He threateningly mentions that I know I know Howard told you. And that if it ever gets out, he's going to go to Lauren. So a little implied threat.
Yeah, he's not going to waste his time looking for anyone else. He's going to know who...
Now, is this not a threat that would inspire Howard Graves to action?
Yeah, you'd think
maybe
so.
The difference... There's no face holding in this threat.
No, but when she goes to leave, he tries to grab her. Like, he takes like a step or two towards her and like reaches for her, but...
Do you not know what happens when you reach for Lauren? Your watch will constrict on itself for no apparent reason.
Yeah, but to answer that question, a couple questions from Mulder and Scully, officers of the law, trying to get to, the facts of how these two people died. They get, an uncontrollable car and get T-boned.
Right.
But this guy gets nothing, and he's essentially assaulting her. It's like, what the fuck?
And directly threatening her life, ultimately.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a stake through the heart right there,
Yep.
But no, he gets to leave. He gets to watch her go. And she does retort saying that she knows that Dorland had Howard killed.
Yep.
And she leaves.
I like how she calls them before she leaves. That's a smart move, I think.
Yeah. Now, it begs the question, what is she going to tell them?
I think she's going to tell them that weird things are happening, and she knows Dorland is mixed up in some shitty things, and he's threatening her. And on the off chance, because Mulder is so approachable about weird things, I think she would eventually talk about the things that have been happening to the people around her.
See, I think that she would have told them about Dorland. I think he's the threat.
I think that would be the initial conversation, but then I think Mulder would push, and kind of like we see in a few moments here. But
well, how do you know he killed your boss? Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on. So we do see the wind go out of Scully's sails when she confirms
it's him.
It was indeed Howard Graves. The test had been run. They came back positive. But they gotta beat it and go over to Lauren's house. So that's where the audience is going to beat it to, because we cut there. And the foreshadowing of a windy evening, a car pulls out and some swarthy looking folks walk over to the house. And I do like the bait and switch here that they go up and knock on the door, and Lauren is visibly relieved and thinks, oh, it's Mulder's come to save me or do something constructive here.
Yeah, she wasn't concerned at all initially. And then that perfect time for robbers and bad people.
But the poltergeist intervenes. He doesn't let them come in. He's defending her. It's his job.
We get to see everything happen. You know, he kills the one lady and then starts choking the shit out of the other guy. Slides things across the room several times.
Yeah,
punches him in the face.
Okay, so at this point, I think it's pretty clear that we, the viewers, know it is not Lauren having these abilities and protecting herself and making these actions. I think we have learned in her vision of Howard's death that Howard is the ghost, and Mulder's theory number 2 of poltergeist is the right theory. So I don't think this action scene, with the death of the 2 thugs, is what's meant to convince us that this is in fact Howard Graves, because I think we're already there.
Yeah, we've been here.
And I think we have to give the episode full props for enlisting a female thug.
Yeah.
I don't know if
equal opportunity thug.
Before 1993, I don't think I'd ever seen thugs that weren't dudes. So unfortunately, she doesn't have a good end. She gets her throat crushed from the inside like everybody else.
Yeah.
The plot demands that she can't see this, because if she did, then she'd be a believer. So she's got to be stuck in the car. So I'm going to put it out there. And what if that Howard Graves knows this and has made the seatbelt impossible for her to remove?
Yeah. And Mulder gets to see what he's been bonering for this whole episode. He gets to see a man suspended in air. If you can imagine the ghost Howard Graves, he's got one hand out on the thug and the other one out the door so she can't get in on time. Yeah, I will say that when people talk about how Scully, the trope of her always arriving just in the nick of time to miss everything, that is the scene I think of, because it's so glaring. And I think maybe it sticks out for me more because they do it again here in about 2 minutes. And I think that is another negative on this episode, is they use the same thing twice back to back. And it's just like, ugh.
The thing is that she doesn't need to see it to believe it. I mean, I think she would be stuck on, throats crushed from the inside. How do you do that? And to see 2 more corpses where this has happened. And again, there's no visual explanation, no obvious explanation of why this has happened. I mean, as the scientist, not being able to find that explanation, I think that would be enough for her to go, yeah, okay, something spooky here. Yeah. Sure, seeing it happen in real time, that's pretty scary stuff. But I don't know. This idea that she is conveniently outside the room and doesn't see it, yeah, it's sloppy, but I don't think it is necessary. I think it's a cheat. So yeah, right. They're both dead. They're both dead. Painfully, grossly.
They're both dead.
So on to the interrogation now. We've got Mulder and Scully in there first. Scully's peppering Lauren with questions that deserve answers, but Lauren's not talking. CIA agent man, or whatever agency he represents, he comes in and removes them, and they chastise the 2 for investigating. And they butt heads. At no point up till now could we possibly have removed you from this investigation. It's like we are powerless until we have power. All I needed for him was to crack his knuckles, and walk in there. Oh, I can get her to talk.
Yeah, what is going on in this episode? There is a lot of blatant, I can get her to talk. I'm going to crack my knuckles.
But there's a nice rejoinder from Mulder saying, I suggest you, what does he say? Stay clear, or, leave her alone.
Don't get rough.
But they do reveal that, HTG parts were found in a bombing connected with the Ishtafan, and they're trying to connect them directly. And you've broken up our investigation. You've impeded our investigation.
Yep.
I think they could have handled that a lot better.
Yeah. Not only was that unnecessary, half a second later, they cut to them leaving the interrogation, having gotten nothing from her, and Mulder and Scully go back in. So it's really just that whole interruption was just a way to understand who these agents are. It was just a little too much sauce.
I didn't buy the relationship between our unnamed agents and the FBI because they are at loggerheads for so much of this episode. You know, they drop in when they need to ramp up the tension, like you're impeding our investigation. How dare you do this? And then, you know, they leave and say your turn, which implies that they're cooperating now or something, as opposed to we're putting you into custody for impeding our investigation, right? If you're a problem up till now, what's to suggest you won't be a problem going forward? To a further point where they're now going to do the search of the HDG offices together. You know, they're going to join forces, but you know, and that none of that is explained or nuanced in a way which makes me believe it. It just sort of happens off stage. So
now I don't know how realistic the sting is in terms of having the witness testimony and the witness actually kind of joining them on it.
They provide a reason for that, though. It's a lame one. You know, they're saying, you know, we need you to show us around, and it's like,
I guess, but I don't. It's a tough one to swallow. Like I can't imagine a federal agency allowing a witness to kind of be in the heart of the sting. Maybe afterward, after everyone's evacuated or something, or something.
That's the first thing to do is remove all the people from the.
She's like storming in with them. It's like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's maybe one of the bigger issues with this episode is the connective tissue. Like the set pieces are good, like when they need to make an emotional punch. In fact, some of them very good, like the deaths of those two thugs. It's a really cool action scene, but the links that they have to make to get from point A to point B to point C, they're all a bit tenuous. And this is one of the worst of them. Yep. So we have finally Lauren relenting. Because she thinks Mulder might just get it about Howard. I don't know what he says to get her there, but anyway, she does end up confessing, and she relates how Howard felt responsible. The company was failing. Dorland arranged for the sale of these parts to Ishtafan. Howard finds out about it. Then, you know, he dies, and Lauren realizes that Howard was killed by Dorland. And anyway, she just wants to move on, but now Scully is the one to kill Mulder and suggests that Lauren can move on by helping Howard finish his unfinished business.
That Scully took that kind of a leap, not because she actually believes it, but because it would coax Lauren into doing something for them. Do you think that was in character or out of character?
I dig it, actually. I liked it because if they didn't have her explain it, if they just had her drop it like, yo, you need to do this, then and then we'd go into the next scene. You know, I wouldn't have bought it because, as you say, that's the Mulder. You know, that is his part in the relationship.
Yeah.
But her saying essentially that I think she gets it. You know, I'm essentially buying into her delusion to get her to where we need her to be. And I like that they have her explain it like that, because it is, I think, a Scully thing to do. This is the problem. This is how I'm going to solve it.
Yeah.
You know, this is what is going to work in this situation.
And it's still proactive police work. You know, she just wants this case to be solved. So I buy it in this moment.
So we're going to do our search warrant. And we have a big arming up scene with lots of extras, and everybody is crowded around Scully as she is telling them what they got to do. And apparently this scene took around 20 takes to do, because Gillian Anderson couldn't remember all of her lines. And one of the execs was on and saying, yeah, Fox is not happy about this, because like there's a lot of complicated camera movement and a bunch of extras. Like it eats up a lot of time to do these kind of shots. So according to Gillian Anderson, she said there was a mixture of having a tape recorder and listening to myself going over the lines, and then also having this woman they hired sit with me in the morning and go through the lines. So it was obviously a big enough problem. They're like, you just need to know these lines.
Oh, wow. I can't imagine having to memorize all these lines all the time. So I can imagine it'd be pretty difficult. Especially, 24 episodes a season just about, and you're doing 4 days per episode ish. It's a lot of work, so I can imagine it happening.
So, they barge into the HTG offices, and again, for some reason, Dana Scully is the one to flash her badge and issue the instructions. Not any of the other 20, 30 federal agents are going to be saying, freeze, step away, stop that. She's the one that's going to take the lead.
I like it.
Yeah,
cool.
I dig it. I mean, I like that they make her.
I'd rather be her than Hayes.
Oh, or Webster. Everybody stop what you're doing and move away from your machines.
You have the right to remain silent. Please evacuate the premises. Here's the warrant.
So they search and search and search, and we have a little crossfade that indicates that time has passed, and the CIA are pissed because the case is blown and Dorland's going to walk. And I like Mulder's note that they don't have it, not because they haven't found it, but because Dorland hasn't broken a sweat. So he's like watching him to get the reaction for, have we found what we needed? Are we close? He's the hot potato.
Yeah. He's not worried a bit right now.
So Lauren is still searching, and Mulder tries to get her to leave, but she's determined, fully committed. And they're butting heads.
Yeah, she goes she is so upset that she starts tearing shit up in his office. And it gets kind of heated there, and Dorland calls her a bitch, and everything's going way overboard. All right.
Now, I mean,
get her out of here.
It's one of those moments where, when he calls her a bitch, that is the point where he's about to get it big time. We've waited for this moment for a long time now, and this is where it's going to happen. And I'm thinking in 1993, we're probably, is it 9 o'clock at night this aired? So we're around almost 10 o'clock. Is that an appropriate time to be able to drop that word, or is this a big deal in 93?
All the kiddos should be in bed.
Yeah.
I would imagine. I don't know. It's unusual, I would say. I don't know.
So even more, right? If we hadn't figured out he was a bad guy up until this point, like him calling her that name, that is clearly enough to give Howard Graves license to do some serious damage to that office.
I'm going to close this door and create a whirlwind of paper.
You watch out. That paper can cut. So it is consumed by a whirlwind.
Lauren goes to assault Dorland with a letter opener. Mulder stops her along with Howard Graves, hijinks. And then the letter opener is kind of hanging out in front of Dorland's face in the air. And then we see it kind of turn and launch toward the wall behind his desk. And it cuts down. And out pops a diskette. So
here's the question. I'm no lawyer, but is that evidence admissible?
I mean, they did find it in the raid. I don't know. I'm going to say yeah.
Why not? It's the 90s.
You can't. Let's be honest. Law enforcement really is not going to care. They found it. It was in where they were searching, so it's going to be admissible to them.
I think Saul Goodman's his lawyer. He's getting off with, fruit of the poisonous tree kind of bullshit.
Anyone could have wallpapered over that.
Listen, she attacked me and then threatened me, and look at all these paper cuts I've got. Come on.
Yeah.
So we get to our first epilogue where we are seeing Lauren finally finishing up her packing. She's going to finish in her U-Haul and move on. And we get some exposition dropped by Scully that Dorland's going to be prosecuted both for the illegal sale and the murder of Graves. I guess there must be some incriminating evidence on that floppy disk about that too. Anyway, Lauren just wants to leave, does so with a quick thanks, and boom, she's gone. So we're wrapping this up pretty quick. And we get a little bit of odd back and forth between Mulder and Scully about him wanting to see the Liberty Bell.
No real reason. I think it was just banter, I guess. Just, they're in the city, so it just popped into my head.
I felt like it was a bit tenuous. Again, connective tissue to get us out. I just don't really buy it. No, it doesn't stem from anything.
It's not important. I think it's just a throwaway. Yeah, it's just a throwaway kind of ending.
Yeah.
Oh, everything's kind of back to normal.
Yep. We did our jobs. We witnessed everything here. So, and our epilogue is now Lauren is working at an insurance firm in Omaha, and we get a nice fake out where her boss chides her for not being punctual, and that coffee cup is shuddering like, oh, this is Howard Graves gonna throw coffee on her again.
And
it's just passing trucks.
If you recognize...
Oh, no, you were about to name drop somebody. You were about to tell us that there's a character.
I was. The new supervisor lady, Janie Woods Morris, also plays the Mistress Madam, whatever you want to call it, in Avatar with Skinner.
Oh.
When he hires the prostitute, that's who she works for.
Nicely done. Well, anyway, she doesn't get anything bad happening to her. It's just a passing truck, and we get Lauren returning to her desk. We have the desk plaque of Ben Franklin saying there, Howard is clearly at rest because nothing bad has happened.
Yep.
So I think that finishes it up for our summary. Let's go to our final thoughts.
It's okay. I think the idea of the story, the very loose weapons supplier supplying extremist groups, leads to an unfortunate murder. It's believable enough to get me into the story. I don't think it's super interesting outside of that. I think that's the biggest problem. We get a double dose, like I said earlier, of Scully arriving just in time to not see anything. It's a little much. I think everything together, it just makes for an okay episode. I'm not attached to any of the side characters. Mulder and Scully, while they do have a lot of dialogue in this episode, none of it is particularly super interesting to me. Like, I think it's just a flatline episode. Not terrible. It's very watchable, but it is disappointing when you get a Morgan and Wong episode that kind of doesn't land too well. And that goes to studio involvement in any production. You know, it's not a good idea to be super involved because you're not the creative force. You fund it. You are not the person who can make it look good and sound good and play good. You know, I don't know how much prodding they had to do. I don't know the situation, but for Morgan and Wong, you know, this just doesn't land. I've been known to say that the X-Files has a greater number of good to great episodes than bad to terrible. And what I mean by that is you could take the first, let's just say the first season alone of the X-Files and put it up against maybe the first 2 seasons of Star Trek The Next Generation. And the ratio is going to be tipping the scales for the amount of quality episodes on the X-Files versus the amount of quality episodes of The Next Generation. And I'm not saying that out of distaste for the Next Generation, but I think it's just a fact. Like, they hit more than they did not on the X-Files.
I think they're finding their way. I think that they have a couple of episodes where they are figuring out what's working and what's not working. And I'm guessing they learn from that and don't make the same mistake later on. I think it'll take them a little while because they're about to have a few misses as we cover more of season 1. I think they really hit their stride when they start lending a bit more of the storyline to the mythology arc.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't think we're going to dwell anymore on this questionably good episode. We'll wrap it up here, I think. So thank you for listening. And did you want to say good night to our fair listeners?
Good night, fair listeners. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at tinhxfilespod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming. It's that time, everyone. The Magus Media Production sales pitch. Please check out our homepage at magusmediaproductions.net so you can stay up to date on all of our shows. Check out our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Magus Media Productions, both of which have our Discord link on it, where you can join us for live shows as we record them for future release. At Magus Media Prods on X, our Patreon, patreon.com/Magus Media, where a $5 donation will help us keep the lights on and bringing you new content, and you get some stickers. Thank you for your consideration and support.